This right here, hello, I'm here too, how are you feeling? John Riggs here. This is 23 pounds of video gaming goodness from a couple of friends of mine who are trying to fund their trip with their kid to Japan, and they're selling off most of their collection, from what I understand. They hit me up and they said, we have a bunch of games that we're going to sell, but we want to have you have first dibs. And I said, why am I holding a knife? And I said, never mind the lists, never mind the prices, just come up with all of the cartridge-based games. Me personally, not really interested in like PlayStation 2 or, you know, even like PS3, Xbox, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, even Game Boy. Not interested in titles, not interested in individual prices, just get all the cartridges together, shoot me a price, and we'll go from there. And they said, well, everything all together goes for a little more, but, you know, taking it back, we'll do it all for $1,200 bucks. $1,200, which right there is basically a plane ticket to go to Japan. And I said, yes to the dress. No, yes to the address. I'm sure, yes to the stress, maybe. We're going to see here. This is a $1,200 mystery box of retro goodness, and we're going to go through it together. Now, I just did a video like this recently, and I can't be doing this all the time. I still haven't even distributed the last stuff I grabbed. Oy. But you know, they were selling it anyway. I've known them for years and years, and they just kind of reached out to me first saying, hey, you know, first dibs on if there's anything you need here before we start taking it to, you know, like other groups and eBay and stuff like that. And I said, all right, well, hey, you know what? I'll take all this, and then they'll still do something with, you know, their other games. So I didn't grab everything. Like, you know, I didn't grab like the PlayStation 2 games, for instance. Although, I should have at least looked at a list. I mean, maybe they would have had a coupon or something. There's a smaller box in the bigger box. So they probably just took this box down there and said, hey, you know what? We're shipping this to Yakima, which makes the most sense. Everything's individually wrapped. So, this feels like a Sega Genesis game, could be a Master System game. This one also feels like it could be a Genesis game. So I don't think there's like a rhyme or reason to, you know, I can't just go, here's all the Super Nintendo, here's all the Sega Genesis, here's all the everything. Maybe there's something cool in here, I don't know. Well, the very first thing I see is something very cool. Shinobi 3 for the Sega Genesis. I actually don't have a whole lot of Sega Genesis. This is a clean copy too. I'm gonna reuse this tissue as well. Maybe I'll start using this for my Whatnot streams. So if you get your game wrapped in tissue. The Not For Resale Sonic cart manual. All right, seems like another Sega Genesis game. I don't know what's going to be in this box. I'm sure there's going to be some commons, like the Mario World, Link to the Past, that'd be cool. Maybe a few hidden gems as well. I mean, they kind of had an eclectic taste for video games, like I did, so that's good news for me. And I got this cool little box with cat hair on it, I think. But we're talking Sega Genesis. I'm hoping to find a Haunting, may or may not find it. When we're talking Super Nintendo, hoping to find a Paladin's Quest. We'll see. When talking NES, can we find a Legend of Ghost Lion? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I'm looking at this box of games, and again, I'm not up on a lot of prices for things, so we'll see. Oh, hey, Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego. There we go. Good old EA game here. I played this mostly on the NES. Again, I didn't really have a computer growing up, so, I mean, you know, all those like Where in Time, Where in the World, Where in the classic Urban Strike. There was a time there where they had a new Strike game about every year. There's like Jungle Strike, Urban Strike, Desert Strike. Desert Strike made the most sense for the time. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Ha! Okay. It's Humans with the manual. Humans. This is from Game Tech, who usually make game show games, but Game Tech did make a couple of non-game show games. We got something special in this other box too, and that would be Factor. I love them. Going through the rest of this box, I'm gonna need my energy, and that's why Factor meals are gonna come into play today. They're fresh, never frozen, chef prepared, dietitian approved. These meals are delivered right to your front door, and all of them only take 2 minutes in the microwave. That's it. And absolutely wonderful with meals like garlic rosemary pork chop, or this one here is the jalapeno lime cheddar chicken. Ooh, let me check out the garlic rosemary pork chop. Since everything's already taken care of for you, there's no prep, there's no sink full of dishes when you're done. I love them. Garlic rosemary pork chop with creamy Parmesan Brussels and garlic broccoli. Anytime there's garlic anything involved, I'm down. I like how they have like keto options, veggie options. They have calorie smart meals, which might be my favorite one. The calorie smart meals have 550 calories per serving or less. Or the protein plus meals, which have at least 300 grams of protein. And not just Oh, they're calling. And for me, my personal endorsement for Factor is I'm 6'5", near 300 pounds, and only one meal will satisfy me. I only need one. These are so good. You have to try them for yourself. Head to factor75.com or click on my link in the description below and use code JohnRiggs50. I'll get you 50% off your first Factor box. Let's check out some more of these games. Here, that feels like a Super Nintendo game. This feels like it could be something else. This one's kind of heavy. It's just like Christmas in September here. Oh God, okay. This is starting to spill out. This is a bunch of Game Boy games. And it came in this ornate case. Let's just go through these pretty well. I mean, starting off with a great one here. Got The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. This is Super Mario Land 2. I'm not kidding when I say this. Out of all the Mario games, new and old, one of the best Super Mario Brothers games. So you should check it out sometime if you haven't. It's just fun. Got Final Fantasy Legend. Got a memory card. I should have known about this. Shining Force for GBA. I do like the Shining Force games, and anything Atlas is good news for me. I may have known about this, but I wasn't as up and up on the Game Boy Advance, as much as I loved Game Boy Advance. Oh, Final Fantasy VI. Most might know this better as Final Fantasy III for Super Nintendo. Maybe not even anymore. Maybe more people know it's the proper name. Got more Game Boy. Oh God, all of my value might be in this little box of Game Boy games. Metroid Zero Mission. Love this game. I remember buying this game at launch and then getting stuck in the game partway through. And I was like, oh, I'll come back to it later. And I came back to it later, and my save was corrupt. And I was like, well, I don't want to go through all that over again. So I never went back to it, but it's been so long, maybe it's time for me to go back through it. So I got the Mario Advance here. Yeah, it's just like Mario 2, you know? One of these Mario Luigi games. These are always kind of fun. I'm not the biggest turn-based RPG fan, but even the Mario Luigi games are pretty fun. Gives you a little interactiveness. Madagascar, because they wanted to be confusing. Super Mario World, Super Mario Advance 2. Got one of these Yu-Gi-Oh games. This is the Pokemon Ruby Edition. Pokemon Ruby Edition. Admittedly, I'm not very familiar with Pokemon games, like at all, so I never know if it's like good or not, or, you know, cost-wise, I don't care about all that, but I care about this, though. Mega Man and Bass, really happy to have this one. Oh, yeah. Oh, I love it. Legend of Zelda Minish Cap, one of my favorite Zelda games of all time. Probably in my top 3 favorite. I don't know if I mean, my number 1 favorite is Zelda 2: The Adventure Link, because it's my number 1 favorite game of all time. If not second, it's probably my 3rd favorite Zelda game. I love it that much. Good thing I'm not allergic, but I have a family member who is. So, sorry. I'm actually gonna chuck that. We have an NES game. This is my first NES game in this whole entire box. Could be anything. It could be Air Fortress. I'd be happy with that. But it is indeed. Oh, okay. It's Spot, the video game. Back when they would have like mascots do video games. Didn't have to be Spot. It's just a puzzle style game, but you know, it's still kind of fun. Another NES game. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Something cool. Well, Tetris. This is an Atari game. Oh, okay. We have a game for the 2600. Centipede. I actually played quite a bit of this back in the day. This will come in handy when that 2600 Plus comes out. Watch the rest be all 2600 games. Like all the value was in the Game Boy games. Well, this Warlords has seen better days, but still a fun game. This is one of the original party games, Warlords was. 4 players on that? Absolutely. Another 2600. I do like 2600, so why not? Oh, copy of Maze Craze. This is kind of a fun game. A game of cops and robbers. I never quite understood where sometimes they had like labels, and then sometimes it was just like text. Like sometimes it actually had like a graphic on it. I don't know if it's like 2 different publishers. I don't know how that works. Could never go wrong with Fester's Quest. I like this game quite a bit. I was actually literally playing this game last night, so there you go. Got no rhyme or reason. I'm just reaching in the box and grabbing a game. Oh boy, here's a good one. You can never have too many copies of Mega Man 2 in your collection. You have an NES game. In Airwolf. Oh, I can see what it is through the wrapping paper because it is Double Dragon 3. Different from the other Double Dragon games, and I never beat this one. Not even with a Game Genie. How the song goes. Oh, Raiders of the Lost Ark. We had this, I hope they didn't actually pay $10 for it. I remember having this growing up. Just because everybody had Raiders of the Lost Ark growing up. And I was so confused by how to play this game. It took years later with YouTube and all that to actually look up like, oh, here's how you beat the game. I was like, how would anyone have known that without like a guide or anything like that? I didn't know. I mean, it took me forever just to learn how to bomb the wall to get through the rest of the part. You know, because I'd always go straight down through the black marker or whatever, and then if I went to anywhere else, I'd end up dying. So it's like, well, I need another box just for all this tissue here. Again, this was in purchase to help a friend and their family go to Japan. Yoshi's Cookie. I Love this game. I usually play through it about every other year or so, just from start to finish. I don't know what it is. All right, more NES games. That's good news for me. And even if they're all pretty decent, you know, it doesn't look like a whole lot of filler or anything like that. You know, they take like a hot pin and like write their name on it. But this game here is Metal Gear. The original Metal Gear, before it was Solid Snake, but before Metal Gear Solid, you know what I mean. It was back, like Legend of Zelda with Metal Gear, is one of those games where you had to find other people who also had it, so you could like share like where do you find the bomb blast suit, or you know, how do you open that door? Oh, here we go. An X-Rental from Stardust Video. Where's Stardust Video? Tacoma, Tequila. Milan Secret Castle. Maybe it's Milan Secret Castle. I've always called it Milan Secret Castle. I love this color. It's like an aquamarine. Oh yeah, Iron Tank. I love Iron Tank. I don't need to show it. It's Iron Tank. Iron Tank's cool if you like Ikari Warriors but don't care about the walking around part. If you just like the tank, being in the tank of Ikari Warriors, you're going to love Iron Tank. Here we go. Ice hockey. Cool. Running out of space here. We're not even halfway done with this box, by the way. Oh, another game for the 2600. Come on, E.T. I don't have a copy of E.T. yet, so, and I unironically like the game E.T. Oh, it's the 27 Telegames. Shooting gallery, planes, etc., etc. Submarines, ships, 1 or 2 players. This is the Sears Roebuck. Pretty in pink with Dragon Warrior. That's just so funny that each one is individually wrapped. Got Big Bird's hide and speak here. Some of the best sound audio quality for speech is in this game. Might be worth looking at just for that. Even like through like a YouTube video or something. What do we got? Okay. Yep, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I have a story about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We used to trade games like in middle school and stuff like that, and we wouldn't loan out a game without collateral. And you wouldn't just loan out a game without some kind of collateral. So it's like, hey, I want to borrow this game. Okay, cool. What do you got? Okay, that's good enough. Just so you have something in return. And there's a school kid that I didn't really care for, but he did have Nintendo games, you know, one of those situations. And he wanted to borrow Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I got pretty recent. I got it near when it came out. And all he had was Double Dribble. So I was like, okay, sure. I've never played Double Dribble, whatever. You know, I'm happy to whatever. We trade games, and then he relocates to another school. I was like, well, there goes that game. And now I'm stuck with Double Dribble, which is a sports game, a basketball game. I know how iconic it is, but I never cared for it. How I got it back was about a month later, my school just had a stack of like, oh, here's everyone's contact information. You know, they have like your name, your address, your phone number, like your school subjects, like, you know, which classes you have. They were just like out on the library counter for some reason. I was like, ooh, I know that guy's name. So I looked up his name, and sure enough, they had his name and address and on there and everything. So I called him up, you know, after I got home. I wrote down the phone number, called him up, and said, hey, we need to trade our games back. And he was like, all right, sure, here's my address. So it was a non-issue, but for me, it was a big issue because I wanted my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles back. Anyway, sorry, boring story, but that's true. This here is the Sesame Street, Astro Grover, and Ernie's Magic Shapes. Now, they had a small child like I did, too. So these games were actually kind of fun for them when they were growing up. You know, like when my kids were growing up, we had, you know, the Wii, the PlayStation 3 at the time and everything like that, too. But I still had my NES hooked up, and they played a ton of this game. Fond memories of watching them play these games, you know. Do we have another Sega Genesis game? Oh, it's a rental case. It's an NES game and a blue rental case. Oh, that's why this is a little bit more protected. Because it's Dragon Warrior 4. Well, I'll take that. Thank you. I mean, I paid for it, but still. I mean, this is still, we're about halfway, or a little, yeah, we're about halfway through the box here. And all of these games, with the exception of 1 or 2 of them, maybe, again, I was happy to give them the cash up front to sponsor their trip. I say sponsor, they gave me a box of games in return. I bought them. But, you know, to help them afford their trip to Japan. Because what a fun experience that would be. I've never been to Japan. I'd love to go sometime. And then in return, these games I'm getting them, I'm just going to put them up on Whatnot anyway. So make sure you're following me on Whatnot. Got a link in the description. Super Mario 2, love this one. You know, sometimes you can tell when games are newer than some of those classic games because they have that much information on the back of the tag instead of like just the 3 things. But this one here is Barbie. I'm not going to look, but we have more writing on the back here. Oh, nice. Mega Man 6. Love this one. Now, this is your standard Mega Man 6. From what I understand, the very first print run still had the Capcom logo around the label. Mega Man 6, believe it or not, was published by Nintendo. I mean, it was made by Capcom. Of course it was. It was made by Capcom, but Nintendo did the publishing. So that's why you see the Capcom games that have like the, you know, thing around it and the Capcom logo up front. This one doesn't. My personal copy of Mega Man 6 is also just like this. Are we getting better as the games go deeper? That's what it seems like. Then I bust out a copy of Mario Duck Hunt World Class Track Meet. But still. Oh, we have another rental case. Woo! Let me get my Anxiety to an ease, because I never know what's going to happen. And then it becomes a win-win situation. Oh, okay. Oh, God. This came from the Game Exchange in Plano, Texas. Here's what I want to show you. So it's just DuckTales, right? Just DuckTales. But apparently this game was on sale for $1. My goodness. That sticker stays. That sticker stays on there. This is a kind of sun-faded Dr. Mario. A little bit too much vitamin D on this one. We have another copy of Dragon Warrior. All right. Ooh. See, I love the fact that so many of these games are NES games, because the last box I got, I thought it was going to be mostly NES games. I got a few in there. I got a few NES games. It was mostly like N64 and Super Nintendo. Not bad. And I definitely got my money's worth out of it. But still, I get happier vibes when I see NES games. We got a gold. I love it, gold. 1 or 2? This one's 2. 2. Favorite game of all time, right here. The last time I played through Zelda 2 was probably 10 years ago, now that I think about it. All right, we haven't even hit Super Nintendo games. I think there are Super Nintendo games in here. We haven't even got that far yet. Okay, clean copy of... Oh, the front's not so clean. It's Turtles 2, the arcade game. What caused that? Maybe it had something on the sides? I don't know. I'm gonna open this up on your side first, because we have a game with a battery save. I'm looking at it now. And it's Ultima Exodus. Focus, Ultima Exodus. That golden sticker on the back, it means there's a battery in there. And oftentimes, if there's a battery in there, it's going to be an RPG. And oftentimes, if it's an RPG, people want to spend more money on it for some reason. Oh, we have our first Super Nintendo game. First Super Nintendo game. It's going to be Mario World. It's going to be Donkey Kong Country. Okay. This is a Famicom box? Oh, it is Famicom. Okay. Dragon Quest III for Famicom. In the box. Kind of fun to see these boxes. This game's called Dragon Power for NES. This game is Dragon Ball for the Famicom. So if you play this game, you're like, this is a lot of the similarities to Dragon Ball. It's because it's Dragon Ball, but they rebranded it as Dragon Power here in the US. And they've done that, especially Bandai. They've done that a couple of times where they would take, an anime IP. But bringing it out in the U.S., feels like we don't know what Doraemon is. We don't know what Dragon Ball is at the time. They would just kind of reskin it. No different from what I do. I just hack the graphics and call it something different. This is oh, okay, yeah, it's a Super Game Boy. I was like, this feels weird. No, Super Game Boy. We still have a lot more games to go here. This is a long, skinny... Is it a Famicom game? Oh, it's Genesis. Why would I think Famicom over Genesis? I'm not sure. Loose Cart, Lion King on Sega Genesis. Mostly played Lion King for the Super Nintendo. But I'll have the Genesis version too. Another NES game. Come on, Ghost Lion. I don't know why I'm looking. I don't even want Ghost Lion. I'm just. I mean, if I found it, I'd be very happy. Marble Madness. Look at that. There's a guy on YouTube. Look him up. He's also on Twitch. 88-bit. He does video game music on piano, and he'll do the entire soundtrack to Marble Madness on the piano. That's just like, I never thought. Usually when you think of like piano music, like piano video game music, you think of like Mega Man, Castlevania, the popular ones. I'm like, Marble Madness. And Adventures of Lolo? That gets an approval in my book. And he's a nice guy. We've hung out a couple of times at conventions. WrestleMania. Okay. I always played as Bam Bam Bigelow because he did the cartwheel. And Bam Bam Bigelow was my favorite wrestler at the time. All right, purple's got to be something good, right? Oh, well, it's not bad. Snake's Revenge. This is the second Metal Gear type game. I say Metal Gear type game because it's kind of its own... I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. I've tried to get into this game. I love Metal Gear, and I tried to get into this game so bad, even with a Game Genie, just to have like unlimited life, unlimited everything, just go through the motions of the game, and I still can't. It's just, it doesn't draw me in for no reason. There's a lot of it that's really good about that game. I just can't get into it. Another copy of Mario Duck Hunt for no reason. I mean, for every reason, really. Makes sense that this would be in yellow. Can never go wrong with Mario 3. I remember I first played Mario 3 on a Play Choice 10 in Santa Cruz, California, I believe it was, before it came out on NES. It was like when the movie The Wizard came out that summer, on some Place Choice 10s, you could find Mario 3, because Mario 3 has already been out for like several months in Japan. But we wouldn't know that because we don't have access to the Japanese library. Well, I won't decline this. Mega Man X, one of the best. So much of me, so much of my willing, so much of my interior whatever, didn't want to like Mega Man X. Because I was like, why is it Mega Man X? Like, I grew up with Mega Man. Why would you change that? Why would you have Mega Man X? Why don't you just have Mega Man 7 or Mega Man 8 or whatever the next Mega Man game was in sequence? And then I played Mega Man X, and I was like, actually, you know what? Mega Man X is pretty cool. Not bad to have a spin-off for the Super Nintendo game. Part of the edutainment series, Mario is Missing. Mario is Missing. This is from Bulletproof. You don't die in this game, but you just kind of go around and get clues on where he is based on landmarks. You know, like that Where in the Time or Where in the Whatever is Carmen Sandiego, it kind of teaches you to use an almanac, or by today's standards, the internet. But maybe they shouldn't have a video game that teaches you how to use the internet. Not by today's standards. Sega Genesis. Oh, got Aladdin to go along with that Lion King there. I prefer this version over the Super Nintendo version, although both versions are very good. Another NES game. Come on. Mega Man 4. Nope, Jackal. Great game. This is a Super Nintendo game. Feeling the front of the cart, it has that plastic part underneath it, so it's a launch title or within the first year or so. So this might be Super Mario World, or maybe it's Pilot Wings. It's Mario Paint. Well, I got the Mario part right. I wonder if there's any saved animations on here. I've always thought about doing that, just like buying all the Mario paints and then just like, let's see other people's work. Did anything? Is this a? Wait a minute. I don't think this is a 64 game, is it? No. This one might be a Famicom game or Genesis. It's probably a Genesis game. I keep saying Famicom. It's like, no, it's Genesis. Okay, well, it's a pretty ripped up, cool spot. But here we go. I still can't even see the bottom of the box. That's how many games are left. Oh, okay. Well, I won't decline Castlevania Bloodlines, that's for sure. Is Castlevania Bloodlines better than Super Castlevania 4? Well, I definitely played more Castlevania 4. I will say that Castlevania Bloodlines is a more proper, truer sequel to a Castlevania game, because Castlevania 4 was like, oh, how much of the Super Nintendo can we use? Bigger sprites, animation, mode 7, whatever. And then Castlevania Bloodlines is like, no, let's just make a good Castlevania game. That's what they did with this one. They're both great games. See here, another Genesis game. Come on, what's a good Genesis game? Not Awesome Possum. Why does that keep popping in my head? Decap Attack. Where's Decap Attack? Oh, it's Altered Beast, the original pack-in and fun game for me. And it's okay to say this, that by now, you look back and say, you know what, in retrospect, it actually wasn't that great of a game. But I still like it. I might play it more for nostalgia than because I want to, but still. Okay, we got Chuck Rock. There's still a variety of games out. Here's another Super Nintendo game. This one is a later release game based on where the plastic is set. It is Toy Story. And again, I'm not saving the best for last or anything like that. I'm just pulling them out whenever they show up. As is evident that we've already gone through all these other great games, and I just pulled another Atari 2600 game. I pulled out Night Driver for the Atari 2600. I played a bit of Night Driver for the 2600. It was fine. All right, what do we got? This is Super Nintendo, an early release, and it's Link to the Past, one of the best. It's one I wouldn't mind playing through again. I haven't played through Link to the Past in a long, long time. Oh, we got our first 64 game. I mean, it's NFL Club, so whatever, but they're not even sports fans, I didn't think. Well, maybe it's because it came in a lot of games. They're like, oh, well, we just have this laying around now. Man, how common is this game? I see it pop up all the time. Pac-Man 2. I like Pac-Man 2. Super Nintendo. Oh. Okay. Mickey's Ultimate Challenge. I'm not super familiar with this game, so I'm happy to try it, though. It's from High Tech, which tells me it's probably more of an educational game than if it was a Disney Capcom game, which would be just more of a fun game. I've been pleasantly surprised before in the past, so you never know. Interesting shape here. Could it be Super Nintendo? Super Nintendo, early release. Okay. Oh boy. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. I remember they kind of advertised this as an RPG for beginners because it kind of it really does kind of walk you along the way. I think it's a great game. I love this game. I mean, yeah, basically if you just kind of go through the motions, you should have no problem beating the game. The music is great though. Another 2600 game. Oh, okay. You wouldn't know it by looking at it, but this is Space Invaders. Little 2600 set by the time the 2600 Plus comes out, which I still may not even get. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. I love this. Ranma 1/2 Hard Battle. Ranma 1/2. This was my introduction to Ranma 1/2. A few years later, I got the anime and then got into the anime. And I love it. My favorite anime of all time. I have Genma Saotome way up there. Look at that. Another early release Super Nintendo game. This one might be Super Mario World. Hey, it was indeed Super Mario World. Another early release Super Nintendo game. Bombruzzled. Super Tennis. Pilot Wings. F-Zero, sure. Early release. Oh, here's a good one. Got Super R-Type on this one. Fun. I'm not kidding. This is starting to... I've been packing it in and shoving it underneath the box and stuff like that, and it's just now showing up here. This is gigantic. We'll save this one for a little bit. I know I was like, we're not saving the best for last. Well, I don't know if that's the best, but I just want to save that for now. Ooh, I love this color. This kind of deep teal or something. What is this? Oh, it's Sonic and Knuckles, where you can put your game on top here, like that. Looks like a game for the 64. Okay. sorry. Here we have WCW NWO World Tour. World Tour. This is Virtual Pro Wrestling 1, but for the 64. You can rip Rey Mysterio's mask on this game. Like, play as Ric Flair and keep doing, like, the eye rake or something like that. Like when you're on the ground and kind of you'll take off his mask. Oh, here's a fun one. Oh, with the sticker right on it. Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo-Kazooie went for $19.99 once upon a time at Software Etc. or EB Games or GameStop, wherever this was from. A lot of people have fond memories playing this. I am not one of them, because by the time this came out, I was knee-deep into PlayStation 1. So I was just like, oh, I'm done. But I played it a little bit since then, and it's a fun game. I can see the draw and the appeal. It just wasn't the thing I was playing. Shadows of the Empire. We have another from Super Pon. Here's Rush 2. It was $4.99 at Super Pon. Okay. Oh, this is it's Kobe Bryant in NBA courtside. My favorite part of this, though, came from Video Update. I used to work at Video Update at Yakima. I wish I still had my employee shirt, because my employee shirt at Video Update was like the black and red. It looked like something out of like Next Generation. I'm sure that was on purpose. I'm not even a Star Trek fan, but I thought that was cool. This might be Super Famicom, which it is. I love Crayon Shin-chan. Love Crayon Shin-chan. This is a pretty fun one, too. I have this one. That's pretty fun. I was super excited when they released Shin-chan on the Cartoon Network, but it wasn't the same. I watched Crayon Shin-chan. I had 4 VHS tapes that were filled with Crayon Shin-chan subtitled from Kiku TV in Hawaii. And I wish I still had those tapes. I got rid of so many of my VHS tapes when I moved out, because I was like, well, I mean, DVDs, I'm not going to watch these ever again. I'm moving away. I don't miss any of them. I miss those tapes. We got Pokemon Stadium 2. I'm not even the biggest fan of Pokemon, but, you know, it was fun to play that one with 2 people. Another Super Famicom game here. Well, it's one of these. See these pop up sometimes, like the SD Gundam Banpresto stuffs. Another game for the 2600. Yeah, you can't trademark the name Ice Hockey, so got it on Atari, got it on Nintendo. This is interesting. It's a coin for if you reserve your copy, I guess, for Pokemon Ruby. And we have Pokemon Ruby, too, so here's the coin still in the thing. Anybody want this? Anybody need this? I might combine that with the Pokemon Ruby game when I do that on Whatnot. It's at least, they resealed it. Chrono Trigger on the Super Famicom, which goes for about $7 or so in Japan. If you have a Retron 5, you can patch it and play it in English, I suppose. Sort of pull off my focus. If you're just collecting all the Chrono Trigger stuff, that'd be fine too. We have a big box. What is this? Okay, it came from Book Off. And this is the Pocket Monster Stadium in the box and everything. We have so much of this wrapping stuff I can reuse for later. So I paid this much. With their research, and I trust them, it came to about this much. But what it's actually going to go for is up to you, because I'll be doing a big old Whatnot sale coming up soon. And if you're new to Whatnot, use my link, and you'll get $15 off the first thing you want. $15 off the first thing you want. So use my link in the description to sign up for Whatnot, and make sure you're following me on there, because I don't have anything scheduled. And I hope you have the best time ever in Japan. I'm so jealous you get to go. I will go there eventually.